All right, this is it. One Phalanx versus three sector commands. Who will prevail? Hello, folks. Today we're joined by one who is arguably the face of the Empyrion build community, one who is a master builder, a prolific tutorial maker, and content creator, including, among other things, his A Look at the Workshop series. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, Jrandall.
Hey everybody, how you doing? And holy crap, what an announcement! My goodness, should go with the compliments, but sorry, I had to. No, appreciate it though. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Well, how did you get into Empyrion?
I was doing some co-op games with a friend, and we kind of went through one game. I think we were playing some 7 Days to Die, and then we were looking for like something else to play, and I seen this Empyrion game just kind of showed up in Steam, and it was on sale for $9.99, and we were like, "Oh, let's try it." And yeah, I thought it was pretty neat. You know, at the time it was Alpha 5, I believe, when we picked that up, and but I liked Minecraft and things prior to that, and I like to build stuff. So that's why I really, once I realized what you could do in this game and the potential of the game, it was, I really kind of got into it, got really hooked on it, especially in the building department, but did spend some time playing the game for the first couple months I had it. Then also realizing I had a workshop that you could build like working things and put it up there was kind of a big encouragement as well in this game. So that's how I discovered it, kind of by accident, honestly.
Yeah. So you started right away into creative, or did you spend a little bit of time in survival, learning the galaxy, or how did that?
Yeah, probably almost 2 months. Never being in the creative mode, just kind of playing the game in survival, and getting to the point where I was bringing in like prefab CVs and stuff in survival, and then realized that like the first CV I brought into the game, it was just part of the game at the time. It didn't have the specs I wanted. It's like it didn't have a big enough hangar, and it didn't have enough farm, and it didn't have a lot of things I wanted. So I started modding it to make it into what I wanted, and then finally I just broke down. I'm like, I'm gonna build a new one, and that didn't go so well in my first attempt. But I kept on trying at it, and by about the third or fourth attempt, I actually had a working CV that I could fly around in and use in gameplay. So, and then that started the whole thing. And then after that, I was like, now I got to build a better one. Now I got to build a better one, and it just never ended.
So, why Empyrion over other builders, space engineers, for example? What's the draw?
It was just a timing thing, honestly. I didn't know of space engineers when I got Empyrion. I never tried space engineers, and then I picked this game up, got used to it, realized that there was space engineers, but I was so invested into this one, I didn't want to go over to that one as well. And there were aspects I liked about this one a little bit more than space engineers. With it's more action packed in this game, I would say. You got uh, shooting on foot and POIs and a lot of combat stuff, which I kind of wanted in the game as well. And Space Engineers was, you know, um, different than that. I mean, for better or worse, was different, and I kind of was already entrenched into this, and realizing how long it really takes to learn all the things in this game just to switch over to space engineers would be a huge learning curve, and it would take a long time to really get going in that, I think. So yeah, just kind of random luck, or random chance, I would say. I wouldn't even say luck.
Yeah. Well, I guess there's also the aspect that with Empyrion, there's a purpose to build, right?
Right.
It's not just building for the sake of building. You know, you can actually apply some practice with your builds and stuff like that in the universe. Um,
Yep.
So is form design something natural to you, or do you have like a background in 3D asset generation or graphic design, or?
kind of I've been a hobbyist most of my life. My goal was always to create a video game since I was a kid, actually, and playing it like Atari games. I remember playing Space Invaders on the Atari and thinking, if this was my game, it would do this and this and this and this. And so I always kind of had that thing and kind of a hobbyist, but I never actually did any professional work in the field. But what really kind of got me started in like 3D modeling and texturing and all that stuff was way back in the day with the Unreal um, or Unreal Tournament, the original back in 1999. I really that was a very cool editor, and I started making dungeon maps or not dungeon DM maps and capture the flag maps and entered their contest and got into that and did that for a few years and built quite a few maps.
That's cool.
But yeah, and I loved it, and that introduced me to a lot of stuff. And I was always kind of a Photoshop junkie too, so I've done a lot of graphic stuff, just some of it for my own little hobbyist game projects that I was trying to make, and others for Unreal or well, and of course, if we could put our own textures into this game, I would have surely done that by now. But yes, yeah. So a hobbyist, but my actual working career has mostly all been in like IT related jobs.
Okay.
So never really where I live in the world, there was never game job opportunities here, or where I live in the U.S., I should say.
Yeah. So you had mentioned that you had previously played some other builder games, Minecraft.
Yeah,
Did you make a ruckus on that scene as well, or?
not publicly. Just yeah, I built some crazy Minecraft things in the day. I thought it was pretty fun. But no, I never was serious. I was never in any kind of online community or anything like that. It was just kind of a solo effort. Actually, before that, too, actually before the Unreal Engine, which I really got into, I actually made a couple maps for Doom and Heretic and Duke Nukem 3D.
Oh wow.
All those games were really awesome on the PC because they had editors in them. And it was like, oh, you mean you can make your own maps? And it just sounded really fun to do. So I kind of got into that for quite a while. And then didn't do much of anything, and then discovered this game and sort of got sucked into building voxel creations and haven't stopped.
uh, so do you approach building with an aesthetic first approach, or do you go for like a mix with perhaps you have function in mind with your layout and then you build aesthetic around that, or what is your approach?
It fluctuates from build to build. Honestly, I don't have a single style for any build. Sometimes I'm all about, hey, I want this to be really by the numbers, work in game well, kind of thing, and I'll try to put function over the aesthetics. But of course, try to make it look nice in the end anyway. Other times, I'll freak out and just I just want to make something pretty today, and I'll try to add in the function later. It really depends on the build and what I'm in the mood to do, I guess. They both can be fun, honestly. I mean, I like to, sometimes I just like to just see what I can make, with some crazy looking building or whatever. And other times I'm like, no, I really want a really good working whatever it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, it fluctuates. Even the methods that I use to build change from build to build. I all my earlier builds, generally speaking, would start from the front and work my way to the back of the ship. But then some of these builds, I totally mixed it up where I would do a wireframe sometimes, and other builds I like. There's a Skaar crawler I had before. That one I actually did in a really unique way where I was building it from the bottom up, like block row at a time, almost like a line printer. So it's just mixing it up keeps it fresh for me. Like if I do the same thing over and over again, I get really bored. So I'm always trying to like mix it up.
Yeah.
And, so some methods work better for some builds than others, I think.
Yeah, I find that it's good. So, like, to help with the rotation is, I guess maybe for one build, I'll try to emulate something that's from an established sci-fi theme. And then maybe I'll get locked in doing that for a while, and I might get burnt out, and then I just do like freestyle. So
yeah, it's fun. I mean, there's so many different ways you can go about building and things like that. I mean, it's just, all depends kind of what you're in the mood for at the time and what you're trying to accomplish with whatever build idea you might have. Yeah, the one you're touring right now here. This one started out a whole lot smaller than it ended up being. It was essentially I was going to make a new carrier, and my first, I think I covered this one on like a update video kind of thing. The proportionally the way it was working out, it didn't have enough room for the landing for the flight deck, because I wanted to be able to park CVs on this thing, and I kept on having to make the flight deck bigger and bigger and bigger so it would have more room for that. And then by the time I got it to this stage, I realized that, oh my gosh, this thing is gigantic.
Yeah.
And it scared the crap out of me to finish it up. So then I got to a certain area and kind of sectioned off areas and thought I would spread it out there to have other authors build parts of the ship, like interior spaces and things like that. And that's, and eventually got done. This was a long project, though, I tell you.
Yeah. So what other contributors contributed?
Well, I think if you were to, I don't know if you know where it is in the ship, but there is a cinema. And if you go to the cinema, they're all up on the screen. I could name some of them. I know there was NMK, 111. He hasn't been around for a while. He was a really good author.
Yeah, he made a real good X-Wing, didn't he?
Yeah, some other things too. I was really impressed with. Yeah, I don't know if you'd know how to find your way. This is a big ship. This is by far the largest creation that I did, and of course, a lot of other people helped. Like that area you're up in top there, that was done by Crazy Z.
Oh,
the whole pool. Well, not the pool area. It does have a pool somewhere else too.
Yeah.
Let's see, if you were going to go to the cinema, if you go down to the main hangar, the main big hangar area,
okay,
and then head over to your right a little bit, to that wall, there's a no, I'm sorry, go up to that next tier right there, and then you see no, I'm sorry, back down in the hangar. And you see that angled wall facing to your right.
This right here?
Yes. There's a door right there. Go in that door.
Okay.
Bottom there, and this will take you by the cinema area. And if you this area was laid up by Crazy Z as well.
Okay.
All these LCDs are by Crazy Z.
Mom's achy needle tattoo.
Oh yeah, he's got a good sense of humor.
Yeah, he does, huh?
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, he even made those like the little pole position LCDs. Yeah. I instantly thought of like pole position in the arcade. So walk down that hallway, and then there is a movie theater right there. Yeah, right on the other side there.
Oh wow. Okay. Escape from New Terra. Awesome.
Yeah, and in there it's got all the author names that were invested in doing stuff with this ship here, and in what areas they did. So quite a lot of authors.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Crazy Z probably did the most amount, but I mean, a lot was done by NMK 111 and Red Baron, and I mean, some of these authors aren't around anymore, but yeah, there's just a lot of different areas done by different people. It was a really fun project. I mean, it was what do you do with a ship this big and to fill in the interior? I mean,
right, massive. Yeah, I remember seeing your reveal video on this. Like I guess you had started like at the front of the ship and you were just going backwards. You know, like it kept going on. Like, what is this thing in? It's like Spaceballs or something.
Yeah, I haven't got up the courage to try to build anything quite this big ever again, though. This is still hidden. I think there's a size class like 55 or something like that.
Yeah.
But the next biggest time-consuming project I have is probably the more recent Skaar Megalodon. That one took a long time to build too. Yeah, this guy here. This one is not as big as the Leviathan, but
Details.
it's got the interior is compressed more.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of interior space in it, and a lot of places. And that's honestly, with me building, what takes the longest amount of time typically is the interior, not the exterior.
Yeah, it's once you get to like the fine details and stuff, and
oh yeah, just a lot of just pausing and thinking about, what am I going to do here? And what am I going to do there? And then sometimes I'll do some trial and errors. Like I'll try something and it's like, I don't like it. So I'll do something else, So yeah, it depends. It's really nice. If you could ever get a build where like every block you lay is like, yeah, that's exactly how I want it. I want to change a thing. That is very rare for me, honestly.
Me too, man. Me too. Yeah, it's too much theory crafting. I think I can't. I'm thinking like all the potential routes of what a shape can do. I guess is that.
Oh yeah. There's pretty much infinite possibilities on what you can do. And it's like, what do you want there, And this one, because of Skaar, now Skaar, the whole idea behind the Skaar is they're cruder, they're junkier, the layout is a lot more chaotic than what like a human creation or other factions would be. So I try to do that with how everything is designed in here. It's like the hallways aren't like completely logical in places, and just random things are just thrown around here and there on purpose, just to give it that this is a welded together piece of junk from a scrapyard, kind of thing.
Yeah, I remember you talking in the video about like having these raised side walls. Yeah, it really gives a presence to the build, I guess. With generally with the form, it's like the angle will go up towards the center line, but here with this like carrier, you have this overhang here, so that really gives a pronounced presence to the build. It's like, wow, kind of like that city effect that you're trying to go for.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah. Even when this was being built too, it started out looking. I was sort of basing this on just a random run-of-the-mill modern sort of aircraft carrier, the way it was started. And then it was like, but my intent was to make it Skaar, and it totally didn't look Skaar. And then I just started really chopping into this thing. And then later on, I had that Skaar crawler spawn nearby it. And I always liked the fake looking tank tracks on the crawler. And I was like, I wonder what that would look like on here. And I first put them there, and I liked it, but they were way too dinky. So I had to I ended up keeping them, but made them way bigger to look like it could actually hold the ship up.
Yeah. This turned out great. I remember you seeing like updates on the development of this thing, and these really sell real well. Like it's such cool.
Oh, thanks. It was fun. I mean, it was just it kind of made it. I wasn't super sold on what I had until those tracks went on there. I know the tracks are completely worthless and non-functional in game, but it just, to me, it's like something I haven't really ever seen, even in a sci-fi movie before. Something like this.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be ridiculous. I don't know what kind of sci-fi movie would have it. It's not very plausible, but yeah, I don't know. If I seen some crazy weird sci-fi movie and I had a big like old aircraft carrier on tank tracks roaming around, I would think it would be pretty cool.
Yeah, probably not in some of the more popular stuff, but some of the games, like I know Homeworld, they have like a land carrier with tracks, and
that's... Oh yeah. Actually, I do take some inspiration from Homeworld as well. I haven't really acted too much on it, actually, but the Helios, the other one that you got over here, that is kind of started out thinking a little bit like Homeworld, because I did look at a couple of Homeworld creations, and I was just like, just a big flatbed, like how can you make a big flatbed with its sole purpose of holding modules and having a gigantic landing pad on it to land like full-size CVs on it.
Yeah. Yeah, when I look
But
at the flight bed or the flatbed design, it's like I I kind of played with them, but then it's hard to resist the urge to want to develop a bridge on the top.
yeah, true.
Yeah,
It's it would have kind of defeated the purpose of this one. Well, not necessarily. I could have. I've seen modded versions of this that they actually did add like a control tower on like one side
yeah.
of it, and it works. It works. This one is kind of just designed to be a flatbed though.
Get the
And
get
just
that
basically.
that maximum carry function on the because there are some big ships, right? And you do need the real estate to land them.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I've seen some. Yeah, there's ships that are too big to even fit on this thing, but yeah, this was a fun one. It's a pretty big ship, but size class wise, it's not too crazy because there's not a whole lot of interior and stuff like that in it, like some of these other ships.
Yeah. So you mentioned Homeworld being one of your inspirations or influences, or have there been any other themes?
Oh yeah, all kinds. Star Wars, Star Trek. Man, a lot of different things, and actually a lot of things from today's like reality too. Like here and there, I'll look at different military vehicles and ships and tanks and stuff, and just kind of just try to like study some of the shaping. Like if I see something and my first impression is, wow, that looks really cool. Like maybe you're watching a episode of The Mandalorian and seeing a really cool ship in there or something. I'll tend to like look at it and analyze it a little bit, like trying to figure out why do I think it looks so cool? And then try to figure out what aspects, what little design elements are on there that is making me think that way. And then I try to emulate that a little bit when I'm building something. It's just like kind of you add it into your internal building database, I guess you can say.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, maybe I could do something like what was done on this other ship over here or whatever. And yeah, those kind of things. But this, yeah, and the whole module thing actually worked out pretty well too. It was
Yeah.
when I started building this, I don't think I had the original idea to have the modules, and but again, I was doing videos on this, and I think someone suggested like maybe have like modules, and then that really got me revved up on this one, and I was like, yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, that's really taken off the whole module system. Now that's sort of the standard for carriers. It's like, if I entertain building something, maybe chat's like, okay, well, how many modules can you fit on?
It became a thing too.
Yeah,
And there's and even since then, I mean, there's different modules types. There's quite a few different styles of modules now, different authors, and that's cool. It's a neat game concept, basically allowing you to add more function to the ship without juicing the CPU on it.
yeah,
It would just take a lot to. Now I believe, yeah, okay, so yeah, this is the reforging written. I think I had two versions of this, so you got the right one here. But yeah, we did use this in a season too. A season on the Anvil Let's Play with Excalibur.
So what sci-fi theme would you say is your favorite?
My favorite. Oh man. Well, here's the thing. Visually speaking, I probably like Star Wars the best. Plot lines and things, I'd probably, I don't know, hit and miss on like some of the Star Treks. So they're a little bit more sophisticated, I guess. So I might gravitate towards that a little bit more sometimes. But I still love the good old Star Wars. So yeah, probably those two. Probably the main two biggest.
Yeah,
Also, Battlestar Galactica. That was a good series. Definitely like that one. The Expanse. More recently, I thought that was really good. In fact,
yeah,
The Expanse I thought was the most plausible of any of them.
yeah. You've had a lot of good Expanse-inspired builds come out.
Yeah, it was kind of fun. I have not done many replicas, but I did do
Tashi.
the Tashi. Yep.
Um, okay, so doubling back to the Skaar. Now, did you make Skaar as a faction, or were you just a major contributor to that?
No, I started Skaar.
Nice.
Yeah, it was again one of those things where it's like I kept on making the human builds, and I did some Kriel prior to the Skaar, and I think even some MCRN. But I wanted to mix it up. I wanted to completely texture and build something different with the idea of more of like a Mad Max kind of theme,
Yeah.
or a Tatooine kind of theme. And so Skaar is kind of like, I would say, I don't know, kind of like Tatooine with a little Mad Max. I say that it's just a planet name in Star Wars, obviously, but kind of run down, ragged, pirate like stuff. And then kind of invented. Well, I didn't invent, but totally flipped the way I textured on its head. Like, used a texture I would never use before, because jiggy lines, like lines that don't go anywhere in a texture, like it's like part of a panel, but then it just angles and goes nowhere. It bugs me. It kind of like an OCD thing.
That's me too.
So, I had to just kind of bite the bullet with Skaar and realize that there's no way I could make all the lines work. But through like this the Megalodon, which is kind of updated Skaar texturing, it's using other textures in there and kind of blending some together that are kind of smoother and others that aren't. And it's kind of a hodgepodge of stuff
Yeah.
to make it look that way. But yeah, it was fun. And it's again, I kind of even want to create another new faction or something like that. And I have an idea, but I can't do it because so many of the textures I want to use can only be used on bases due to the materials, like wood or concrete textures, and I can't put them on anything that moves. So I kind of abandoned the idea of another faction that was actually going to be really different from all these other ones, and it was going to be based around something like Diablo.
Oh,
Like, so I was
kind of
very different,
like a
space medieval,
okay, yeah.
hellish kind of thing. Yeah, just there's some textures that can work, and I believe I would have pursued it with a test base that I did a while back. But then I was like, well, you know what? I can't use like all the main textures for this faction on anything that moves, because I can't use the materials on it. I can't use wood on a CV or concrete on a CV. So therefore I can't use the textures, and therefore I really can't do anything with it. So I sort of abandoned the idea of it, unfortunately. But I kind of wanted to. That would have been a lot of fun, just doing something really, really bizarre.
So we mentioned, or we covered some of the sci-fi themes that have played an influence into your builds. Has anyone within the build community had like a particular impression upon your build style, or?
Oh, I'm sure, like a lot of people. I mean, honestly, I've looked at a lot of builds, and I do get ideas from other builders too. I mean, undoubtedly, I almost every time I do one of those look at the workshop videos, I see something new by someone else that I was like, oh wow, that's really cool. And I'm looking for it too. I mean, I really am looking for it. I've seen a lot of builds, built a lot of stuff, and it's just, it amazes me too, because I keep on just seeing stuff that I never even thought about. And I'm like, oh, look what they did with this deco part in combination with this block and this LCD. That looks amazing, and I love to see it. So yes, I definitely take cues from other builders as well. I mean, I try, of course, I try not to emulate anybody. I copy what they're doing. So, I mean, but it is really cool. That LCD is not made by me. That digital LCD down there, that was made by a different author there.
Is that Saluz Decor?
I would have to look. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a few different authors that were making some pretty cool LCDs. Saluz Decor, definitely one of them. He is one of the masters of LCDs there.
Indeed.
I do like LCDs. I don't particularly like to make them myself because I find the interface very annoying. But
right. Yeah, it's like, okay, the alignment goes off, so you have to dip out in the notepad and try to straighten out that way.
Yeah, and just sometimes too, you got that line height command in there, and it's like, I decided later on, as I'm working on the LCD, I want to like position everything down a little bit, and I change one command and it screws up the whole thing, and I got to go through and hit every one of them again. And it takes a long time, at least for me, to make any kind of acceptable LCD. I can't imagine what some of these other authors done one of those really, really elaborate, complex LCDs that I've seen seen created. Got to give kudos to those people.
Yeah. So you're responsible for the Skaar. Is that the case as well for the Kriel?
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, Kriel was different too. Another influence I didn't mention is the Alien franchise. I definitely like those, especially the first two movies, Alien and Aliens.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I was trying to capture a little bit of that look with the Kriel, that dark kind of stuff. But I realize it's pretty impossible with the voxels and what I can do in the game here. So I just wanted a dark and eerie, very mostly pretty alien looking thing. Obviously, it kind of takes you out of that vibe when you see human stuff like doorways and seats and stuff in the ships, but there's not really anything else you could put there. But yeah, just something different. And also, I think at the time too, I never did much with texture lights like you see in the Kriel, and I wanted to play with it, and see what you could do with it. The thing is like even when this ship was built, the lighting engine in the game was different. And all these lights looked a lot different. The whole lighting inside the ship looked different than it does now.
Yeah.
And it had a eerier, foggier kind of look to it with the way the lighting was portrayed. And then the lighting changed in the game, and it kind of lost that original look that I was striving for with the Kriel, just trying to make it look alien, and they're sort of based, at least originally based around I think a little bit before I built the first Kriel, which I think you're looking. No, actually, the Kriel Gast was the first one. But I started working on this one before I released the other ship. As I was, it was kind of based on deep sea creatures, like the
Oh
weird
yeah.
stuff way at the bottom of the ocean, like that looks totally alien. I mean, some of that stuff below sea. If you want to see an alien, go look at what's swimming down there in the deep waters. And that's kind of what the Kriel was supposed to try to portray, or
Yeah.
at least the idea of it.
I could definitely see that effect, kind of like anglerfish and some of the bioluminescent creatures down there, and some of the weird flashing colors that they got. Yeah, I could see that now.
Yep. Yeah. So kind of like deep sea creatures. I was trying to, it's supposed to look alien, and honestly, with the first two Kriel thing, it wasn't my first attempt at trying to make something alien. I had a few tries before that, but I never liked anything. It wasn't until I kind of played around with coloring and texturing that I finally settled on this weird purple kind of gradient painting aspect that the Kriel have. There's not just one shade of purple in there too. There's actually, I think, 4 different shades, and it's hard to notice in a lot of places, but there's little gradients going on in a lot of these Kriel creations.
How does this thing do this? There's something going on with the gun. Oh yeah.
There's they kind of a lot of trial and error again. In fact, when I was first doing the very first Kriel Gas, I had a magenta one and a green one as well. And then after I had 3 of them, and I kind of liked them all, but I decided ultimately on the purple one because in foggy and nighttime or dusk type lighting environments, they looked a lot spookier because they looked almost black.
Yeah. So do you feel like there was in regards to your workshop success, do you feel like there was one particular breakout moment with the build, or was that just sort of like a consistent slow steady?
No, there really was. It was fairly early on. My early workshop, I put out probably about 5 or 6 things, and I don't think any of them got more than a few views. And so it just wasn't doing anything good. And then I built my first ship that had success, and that was the Manicore EX1, and it was weird ship. I liked it. I actually built it in survival because it was before I knew about creative mode yet, and that one, it was so one comment in there I remember to this day. It's so ugly that it looks neat. It really was a very demented ship. I didn't even know what to call it. I ended up with a Manicore. I was like, what does this thing even look like? It's a legged ship. And I didn't see any leg ships prior to that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why I wanted to do it. And the one I followed that up with, the Cerberus, that was also a leg ship. But I learned a lot between the Manicore and the Cerberus. And the Cerberus, I actually switched over to build in creative mode, where the Manicore was built literally in survival, not cheating. So it was a very slow experience for me, and I was very frustrated, especially trying to build the legs for it. I found it very, very challenging. But yeah, after the Manicore, then I think I had an early Merc, the Merc MX-8 was the first one of those, and that actually did pretty well too. And then after that, I just sort of probably had a release every week or two or month later ever since.
So what part of the build process most annoys you?
My favorite part is probably building the halls.
Yeah.
The part that annoys me the most is probably a lot of the finish. Well, I wouldn't say annoying. It's just time consuming, and it doesn't feel like you're accomplishing much. But that's just like, getting all the lights on sensors and LCDs. LCDs can annoy me a lot too. I mean, I love them. I love that they're in the game. I love that they have the functionality that they do with what you can do with an LCD, which is quite a lot. But they're really because again of the interface, I dread it every time. It's like, oh, I need to make an LCD for this. I'm literally dreading it. I'm like, oh, I'm going to be annoyed by the time I'm done with this, but I'm going to like the end results, hopefully. Yeah, so that's kind of how I view it. So the most annoying part to me actually is probably the LCDs. Large builds, texturing them, that can be something that you can dread too. I mean, it takes a long time to texture a big ship.
Yeah.
Especially.
And okay, so in regards to your most favorite portion of the building process, I guess that's the block work, laying out holes, you said?
Yeah, probably. Well, it's yeah, you see it, firsthand what's going on right away and stuff. And it's also just out of at least my personal experience, I know that typically on a build, I'll probably spend, let's say like the ship you're looking at now, the Asteria, I probably spent about 4, 5, 6 hours building the hull, and then probably another couple 2, 3, 4 hours texturing it, and then probably another 25, 30 hours doing the interior. And that's usually how it goes. It's the interior takes usually a lot longer than the hull does. So it's a little less rewarding, and on a big ship it can be tedious to get the whole interior in a ship, I think. But of course, if you're happy with the results, it's all worth it in the end.
Yeah. Which build would you say is your favorite?
Oh gosh, I don't know, man. I've been asked that question before, and it kind of depends on my mood at the time. And obviously, sometimes when it's brand new and I just built it, it may be my favorite for that week. But, next week I'll be like, oh, maybe not. I don't know. The ones I was happiest with early on, and probably the most excited about is, man, I can't even answer that question. I really like the Skaar crawler, because it was the first time I ever tried to put fake tank tracks on something, and it was just so different than my normal build. I don't know. I don't really have a favorite. I guess it keeps changing.
Yeah. So would there be one that you would say is your least favorite?
Yeah, I think so. I know you don't have it spawned here, but I made this this weird. It was supposed to be like some kind of combat salvager tank in the past. I forget what I called it, but that was probably my least favorite, I think. Oh, and that weird experiment I did with the new flight model with only having a forward engine and no strafing or
Oh.
anything like that. I built this little MCRN thing I didn't care for much either. It was an experiment. I was trying things. I wanted to see how it would work out,
Yeah.
But a lot of these ships, the Nemesis, that's an early one there too. Now people like this one. This was me trying to be a little more combat-y with the ships, double hull combat steel type of thing. Obviously, this doesn't really work in at least modern Reforged Eden gameplay. At least the way this ship's configured, at least. But I was pretty happy with all these, when I first made them. And I was always trying to I'm sure you do the same thing too. I mean, every build that you do, you want it to be better than your last build, right?
Right.
And I'm always trying to do that. It's like, but it's like you kind of get to a point. It's like, I don't really know how to make. I kind of running out of options or things. I don't really know what to do to really make something better than what I might have already done visually or functionally in the past. But it's just a lot of these older creations too just are broken because they were built for almost an entirely different game on how all the stats and everything worked at the time, and they don't work anymore. And that's one of those things. So now I'm pretty much been building primarily for Reforged Eden for last couple of years. Any creation that can work for vanilla pretty easily, I'll try to allow it so you can use it with both, though.
Okay, so switching the page over to a look at the workshop, what sparked your interest in starting that? What was why did you start that series?
Oh, the workshop?
No, a look at the workshop, your series on YouTube.
I did one video prior to that. I was already making videos mainly on my creations, and I did one video where, I don't know, kind of randomly, I wanted to look at some different other people's creations, and I had a few of them there, and it seemed like a lot of people liked that. And then and also another big influence too. Prior to probably the time you've been around Empyrion, there was a YouTuber out there by the name of Mr. Spicy that would have these monthly challenges to build things in, and he would show off the creations, kind of like what Excalibur is doing now. And that kind of really got me into it. And I remembered when I first discovered that he did some videos on some of my creations. I didn't even realize it. I literally accidentally found one of these on YouTube one day, and I'm like, wait, that's my ship. And I didn't even know it existed. And I thought it was really cool watching someone else go through your creation. It was, encouraging, it was just like, oh, that's really, really cool. And I remember that feeling I had when I discovered that, and it was like, oh my, someone's looking at my ship. That's so cool. And then that's kind of why I do what I do now with the look at the workshop thing, is I think it's encouraging to authors to have something like that. If that just didn't exist, I don't know. It kind of takes away stuff, like most authors probably would like to see their creations shown by some other person, touring it and stuff like that. I think it would be kind of encouraging to them. So that's a lot of the reasons why I do it. And not to mention, it's hard for me to produce YouTube content on just my own builds alone. It takes so long to build these things and whatnot, and most people don't want to watch a long build process. And some of these are a very long build process. If I recorded everything, like this ship here was probably at least 60, 70 hours of build time on this ship. You're not going to watch a 70-hour YouTube series on building one ship. You're going to get totally bored with it. And I won't blame you at all. So that's another reason is, there's content there every week. People are building stuff, and hopefully it encourages the community. I mean,
it does. It's so that's definitely one of the highlights for a builder, is to be featured on a look at the workshop. I can
that's cool. That's kind of the point and intent of it, honestly. I mean, it's like, yeah, get to see everybody's stuff. And I learned too. And I realized too, because now that I'm looking at a lot more other people's creations, I keep, like I said, I keep on seeing things that I never thought about before. People innovated ideas and unusual block combinations and stuff going on, and LCDs and the whole, you name it, all kinds of different things that, so I think it helps me as a builder too, seeing all this other stuff.
Yeah.
It gives you ideas.
It seems like every week that I see the series release, it's like I see somebody new, right? Or a name that I'm not familiar with. So it's definitely good for getting some exposure to people.
Yeah, I think so too. It's nice. I mean, I've seen some other authors that they would put a lot of time and effort and build a really nice ship, and hardly anyone's seen it. I mean, it just their name wasn't known, so no one went out of their way to see it.
Yeah.
And yeah. Did you ever if you turn around, did you ever check out this?
Yeah, this was awesome.
The holodeck simulation. Yeah, you can click on that thing there. It's
that's fantastic.
Thanks.
I love it.
Stuff like that, like building this room. This was one of the definitely more fun things I did in recent memory. It was just no rules. I wasn't following anything. I was actually purposely trying to make some kind of theme I've never done before, just to have it look unusual. And it was just, a lot of fun playing around with. I do like to experiment too. I do like to try things and play with colors and textures and see what you can come up with.
Yeah, I love the block work in this room.
Oh, thanks. Kind of the whole room was experimental, and trust me, that other theme I was talking about, that kind of weird Diablo-like theme, was gonna do some of this kind of thing. But man, some of those stone textures and stuff that were in there, and if you color them right with the other textures that can be color mats next to them and stuff like that, it can look really neat. But I tell you what, I wish there was a universal texture palette though, so you could use any texture you wanted to on anything you wanted to. A lot more could be done that way, for sure.
What features do you think could improve the game?
How long you got? Well, I'll start out with the basics. Well, we're not talking about bugs. We're just talking about features. So I would say definitely it would be really cool, I think, for us players to have pistons, rotators, maybe working wheels or tracks or both. Another idea I had too, there's so many planets out there and they're procedurally created planets. Why not have a planet with a very deep ocean and actually build submarine-like creations that are meant to go underwater to do other underwater activities? A game like Empyrion has so much potential. There's like almost unlimited amounts of things you could do to it, and I just want to see more done to it. I mean, there's so many different avenues on where you could make this game, add in all kinds of stuff to it, and I just really want to see it do that. I would also like to see some forms of, even if it's basic-ish, but some forms of automation. Like, I'm not talking like full-blown factorial or satisfactory, but a little bit basic, a little more basic, but complicated enough to be very interesting. Like, if I wanted to sell a product in a let's just say the game had like this galactic market or something like that, and maybe it was just procedurally generated there too, but maybe there's this big demand for these high output capacitors or something, and if you wanted to make some in-game currency to buy other things with, you could set up some kind of manufacturing. Like, you need the resources, and you put down like some kind of constructor, and this constructor builds this one component, and then that feeds it into another one that build that, adds on to that component, and then an assembler puts the two components together, and a finisher does whatever else it has to do, and then bam, you got a complete product that you can put on the market to sell. I think that would be a pretty fun thing. It's not necessary, but I think it would be kind of fun to add into the game as well.
Yeah,
I could go on forever about this though. And there's been so many times I thought, it would be really cool to see. Yeah, and then I'll just go on a tangent for a while, like I just did.
No, that's fine, man. Go ahead. It's
Fine.
it's your forum. Do you have any other suggestions? Yeah, I'm all ears.
Well, I want to ask you the same question. Well, I mean, what would you like to see added to the game?
Oh, well, I would certainly want to see a 12.5 degree block. Okay.
Yep. I'm full on board with definitely that.
Because like a lot of so if we think of like some of the finer lines, if we're taking the Supremacy for example, like if we want to emulate something like a Star Destroyer, we have to do like some zigzag stuff, right? Or
yes,
other masking techniques, and I'm just ready to see that block that does that fine line. And
oh yeah, yeah.
And so,
absolutely.
So if we had that and like the family of adjoining blocks for that would work not just for some of the finer sharp angles like a Star Destroyer, but if done right with the connecting pieces, that would work well for the macro level of rounding.
Yep. It definitely would. No, I agree, man. I would really like to see it. In fact, there's a different game. I'll probably butcher the name again. As
Avorion?
Avorion. I don't know why every time I say that word it screws me up. But I don't know if you made anything in that game or not, or played it before. But it had a unique idea on wedge like voxels. It sort of works like voxels, like this game, a little different. But one feature they had is where, like, say you took your standard 22.5 degree wedge set that we've got right now, right? But you could just take and drag out one of the vertexes of it and make it to any degree angle you want. So you're not limited to 22.5 or 12.5. You can just drag it out to the shape you want and then just go from there. That game does that. So you can do a accurate Star Destroyer or something like that in. And it's actually pretty simplistic because like going to like 12.5 degree blocks and all the supporting blocks. I mean, even when we go to a 22.5, well, it was 12.25, whatever. But even when you go to that, there's like a base set of 4, and then there's the other set of 3 that kind of can go with that. When you expand it out to even a higher degree angle, it's going to need even more supporting blocks. And then you might have a whole like 20, 30 different blocks all for this like one wedge set to pull it off correctly, at least.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Or you could just have a basic wedge block and say, drag it out to whatever shape you want it.
Yeah, and that would kind of, circumvent the need to keep perpetually making different shapes of blocks, just having that one function to be able to do it.
Yeah, I think it would be a good way to go about it. But I would be all for the degree blocks you'd like to see in the game. I would too. I mean, a problem with like this one here, obviously it had some Star Wars Star Destroyer things going on. I was trying to be a little bit like it, but there's no way to pull it off. You cannot do the angles correctly or even close to correctly.
So that's the thing. So if we had something like that, like you suggested, I think not only is that in Avorion, I think that's also in Starship Evo, if I'm not mistaken.
That's something I've never tried. I gotta try that game sometime.
Yeah, so it's like, if we have that, it would really change the look of the game overnight. So not only, or we would be moving away from making likenesses of popular sci-fi themes to making actual replicas.
Yes, which would be really cool.
Yeah, if your common person sees that, just some run-of-the-mill YouTuber, sees this game and sees like this new level of creation, and It's just going to grab their attention, right?
Yeah, I think it would, and not to mention, the stuff us authors could build could, if they get seen, a lot of people are like, "Really? You made that with a voxel game?"
Yeah.
I mean, literally, I don't think many Minecraft players know of this game, which is unfortunate because Minecraft is, if you look at its overall like players, is probably one of the most popular games in the world still.
Yeah.
And this game can blow it away in visuals and stuff that you can do with it, in that sense. But literally, there's a very niche market with this game in comparison, for sure. So that part kind of sucks. I think if we reached out to some Minecraft players, there might be some Minecraft players that really dig this.
Yeah.
And just don't know about it.
So if you had your choice of a particular block going in, do you have something in mind?
Well, the big block I wanted, they just added to the game. Unfortunately, it's not UV'd
Okay.
the way it needs to be to make the block really work. Oh wow, your blocks look really weird in here.
This is Garriman's better block shape.
Oh yes, Gary. Okay, I got it. Yeah, they're organized differently there.
Yeah. It's like once you switch to this, and if you try to go back, you're completely lost. This thing, it's so he's got like the transitions on one side, the family of connections all sorted out. So it's just
I checked it out before, and I thought it was really cool. I thought it was better organized than what the original game had. But unfortunately, I already been using the regular game for like a good 4 years prior to that, and it was like totally ingrained in my memory. And it was like, I don't know, one of those kind of things. So that Solaris station you're looking at, that was actually based off the design idea for actually came from a game called Sins of Solar Empire.
Oh yeah.
And they had their I think they just called them star bases in the game.
Yeah.
And it was sort of shaped this way. Obviously, the ones in that game were probably 50 times larger in size, but it had that general shape, and I couldn't quite pull off the shape exactly how I wanted to. But this was another one that I was pretty happy with when I got it done. A module based space station with a open architecture plan on the inside, kind of.
Yeah, this is a popular one within our faction. There's even been a CV conversion of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's mobile.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
that's very cool. Yeah, this one did the Majora modules on the lower section there too. Yeah, this is definitely one of my more favorite creations that I made. I don't really have a favorite, but I got a list of creations that I like better than others.
Yeah,
and this is on my better list.
You did some good execution on the corners. That's not always easy to make. That look like something that would flow with it, but it looks good. And then you got that sharp angle parking option, so that was a cool execution as well.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I was really struggling with the corners of the space. The block I wanted didn't exist, and I still don't think it does, but I wanted like right above that window there, I wanted that to be smooth and at that angle going up to the top, but there's literally no block in the game to do that.
Yeah.
So I had to find a way.
So the brick is also another popular one. This gets a lot of play because it looks good and it's also very efficient, good efficient usage of space.
Yeah, that's, you see, when you asked me earlier, what I build for more visuals or more function, this one was one of them function things.
Yeah.
I built this thing from ground up to be just full of like everything you'd want in a space station and compress it into whatever I could get it to fit in. But as in visuals, it's probably at least on the exterior, it's probably the one of the most boring looking things I've ever made. There's hardly anything fancy going on the exterior at all. It's just a pretty very basic shape.
Yeah, it still looks good though. And of course it has that Jrandall stamp on it. You have as an artist looking at other creations, you can see like when somebody dials in a particular theme and aesthetic with textures and color combination. And you're like, okay, it's that person, and so that still executes well here.
Thanks.
Right. It doesn't seem like it's necessarily a cheap aesthetic knockoff to satiate function. It still looks good. Right.
Well, thanks. I try to make it look as pretty as I knew how to, but yeah, it's following the standard human style interior work and textures and everything like that. So I've been kind of following that. I fluctuate a little bit in how I do it, but yeah, pretty much very standard. Same with the Helios.
Yeah, and then we have
Janus.
Yeah, Janus.
Yeah, the Janus. Yeah, this was an experiment. It was done for one of the past Anvil challenges, but it was. I actually really liked how it turned out. It was basically the idea of this one is to. It had a huge amount of different functions to it, but it's a starter base that you turn into a CV. And so it's really cheap comparatively speaking, when you spawn it in, and then you got a base that's kind of like, a basey base in the back here. You got your production and your stuff that you'd want in there. But now you got it. This one's taking estrium and stuff. Does this one have thrusters on it?
I did put a thruster on there to keep it airborne. That's what this is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's why. Yeah. Default though. I used this in a season on the Anvil server there, and I thought it was kind of neat because you spawn this in as your starter base, but then you go through time and you had to add a lot of stuff to it, like even a pilot seat in here and all the thrusters, and then you got a CV, and then it happens to also be a Helios module, and then it's also set up to be a miner as well. So it had can do a lot of things.
Yeah, it ticks a lot of boxes. This is also popular in the faction.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. We have one member by the name of Veteran. He doesn't log on to Empyrion Galactic Survival. He logs into Janus Galactic Survival.
Really?
Yeah, he stretches it out. I mean, he'll even use it as kind of like a stopgap battle cruiser.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He'll put like Imperial positrons on it, and it'll be like an earlier warship force for the faction, and late game he'll use it as a miner. Really good build. Really good.
Oh, thank you. It's one of those builds that was built for gameplay. It's generally I tell you though, I do get tired of building rectangles. You notice, like, any of these modules are pretty much rectangles. A lot of the ships I build are basically a ship trying to hide a rectangle, and it's usually because I do like to have decent spaced hangars in a lot of these creations.
Yeah.
Just because, I mean, there's so many people. I mean, even me, it's like I might have a tree cutter, I might have a SV miner, I might have this other thing, I might have a tank, and I want to move it all with me. I don't want to randomly dock them to the outside side thruster of the ship or something. It's nice to have that internal space for it, and not to mention, hangars are very low on CPU. So, I mean, they're really cheap to pull off, basically. It's the same thing too. If you probably notice, a lot of my creations also have landing pads on the top of them. Not all of them, but a lot of them do, and that's simply because I could make it all pretty and try to decorate it and do more block work on the top, or just leave it flat and it actually has function.
Yeah.
So that I normally go with some kind of landing pad on most of these ships, just because why not? It's really cheap and you can put stuff there, and it's it could have maybe looked nicer if you did all this fancy block work up top, but it's kind of wasting space.
Yeah.
Basically.
But also, it's kind of a general good rule of thumb because things that you're not necessarily going to be able to fit in a hangar, you can fit over, and it could spill over
Yep.
bigger SVs or whatnot.
Yeah. So Janus was definitely a fun one. Oh yeah, the the
Yeah.
Phalanx, the Phalanx. Yep. This was yeah. This was I wanted. I don't know. I got to bug up my thing, and I seldomly or quite rarely ever have a creation that requires quantum or auxiliary cores. But this one, I was just like, I want to do it because it sounds like fun. And the objective of this build was to kind of follow the design a little bit of the MCRN Scorpion, but to go psycho with it and fit literally as many guns as I could possibly stick on the thing. And that's what I did.
Mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished. A lot of guns, a lot of guns. But yeah, I also, I kind of wanted to make it the interior kind of feel a little bit like some kind of Imperial tank or something too. Like, that's kind of what I was striving for in here. Like you could see some stormtroopers driving that into, the rebels or something.
Yeah.
So that's a general idea of it. But yeah, this it's an expensive one. To get it like functionable and moving, you gotta add quite a lot of quantums or auxiliary cores to it. Quite a lot of them. But it's a lot of turrets.
Yeah. When you need to quickly delete a POI, there it is.
That is what it's for. That is exactly what it's for. But honestly, when I did bring that into game at one point in time on I don't know, season 3 or 4 or something like that, and it was the game was having extra issues that season with combat stuff, and this tank happened to because of so many guns trying to fire all at the same time. It kind of often you couldn't kill the POI because the game would bug out and break where you stop doing damage to the POI. So unfortunately, when that didn't happen, though, it was pretty quick at taking things down, but often it would break the game. So yeah, a little problem with that one. No, the Trebuchet.
Yeah.
Yeah, yep, yeah. I remember. Yeah, another season running around with Excalibur. He had his ship, and I had this one, and they were kind of similar in size and functionality, sort of. Yeah, this one was a fun one. I normally go for wider body hulls in this, but I wanted to try to make something a little skinnier. Problem with this game in combat ships and skinny ships is it's really hard to place enough turrets on them to have a good line of sight if your ship's skinny. If
Yeah.
it's wider and has that room, you can put a lot more on it. So this one started out skinny, and I kind of had to make it wider in the back because I needed reverse thrusters and places to put turrets, basically.
Yeah, I think this is like what I use as one of the bigger learning tools for my building process. Like, up until the point of this thing release, I didn't understand quite how to do the double angle here. How you have this drop down, but then also you're running this line. So I remember distinctly, like, this was one of my bigger moments, just taking these blocks, deleting them, and then figuring out how that combination process worked out.
Oh, okay, yep.
Yeah.
That's cool. That is something nice about Imperium, though. I mean, there's even with the blocks that are there, there's quite a lot you can do with them. You can round things off. You can different angles, and over time too, I've picked up new tricks too. I keep on trying new things each build, or most builds. I'm trying new things, unless it's a minor. And honestly, minors are probably my least favorite kind of thing to build because at least if I'm trying to be tight on specifications, you can't do much with them. They always got to be skinnies. The drills always got to be on the outer edges. Well, if it's a mechanical drill miner, at least. And there's hardly anything you can do with it. But this one was, a bit of an experimental ship again, trying to get back into a little bit tougher hull. But again, this one's a little bit dated again because yeah, the game didn't have all the shield parts, and all the other stuff that would have probably went in here if they existed when it was built, at least.
Yeah.
So, do you have any favorites of my stuff? I mean,
Yeah, so definitely I like the Trebuchet again, because this is, I guess it's just something, about learning this. Like, this was one of my big moments here, learning the block combinations.
oh, yep. That's cool. I actually learned that on my first build, or my first workshop release of a CB I was using in game, the Nebula MK3, I think. I didn't know how these wedge sets worked. I knew like a 45-degree angle. I knew like the straight flat 22.5-degree angle, and I didn't know how all these other blocks even worked. And yeah, it was
Yeah.
once I learned that, I was like, oh. And then I really got hooked into building after that.
Yeah, and it's like, learning this here. It's a big thing, right? So then you kind of get an idea of the limitations and maybe some of the finer points of like the block combinations that Empyrion has to offer. We can't necessarily replicate or emulate some of the more popular things, but some of them they just work really particularly well with Empyrion's block selection. Like, what I learned from that little bit there on the Trebuchet, like, that was applied to some of the wing shaping here and
Oh yeah,
connecting joints and stuff like that.
by the way, yeah, I looked at this in the look at the workshop videos too. Awesome work on that, man. Yeah, really. I think this is when it's the first creation from you that really sunk into my radar.
Yeah.
I was just like, I looked at this and I'm like, holy crap, I did my my Klingon like ship a little bit before this, and I really like what you did. Yours looks more Klingon than mine. I got some design issues on mine, I think, but yeah, really awesome work on that. And obviously, yeah, I really noticed that a lot of attention to detail too. Love what you did with the thin block work on this on the hull of this too. The color separations there.
Can you imagine
Very nice.
if we had the option to use like the SV scale blocks on CV blocks as well?
Oh man,
Yeah.
yeah. It would be great. Even if it was just for a definable area in the ship. Like, you know how badly I want to do a nice looking SV interior or a small block interior. But yeah, I don't want to build any big SVs because I don't really see much function for them in game at the same time. Like they look beautiful. I love them, but it's just like, yeah, are you gonna bring that really like size class 20 SV into game? Because it's gonna be super expensive and it's not gonna be able to do the function of the CV, obviously. So yeah, but I agree with you, man. You know how it would be amazing if you integrate in small blocks into big block builds. I think would
Yeah.
be really cool. There's so much potential there. And trust me, I really crave to build some fancy SV or something where I can really try to do some really detailed interior. But yeah, I always shut myself down. I'm like, well, if I do that, then it's kind of going to be one of those fluff kind of creations. It's not really. Most players are probably not going to use it in game because it's expensive, or probably way more expensive than it should be, and then it's not gonna because it's yeah, I don't know. So I keep on shying away from that, but I really have the desire. Like I like some of your builds, some of uh Ente's builds, Crazy Z's builds, with the really nice interiors on an SV scale. Man, I really do desire to do that. That looks fun.
Yeah. How long did it take you to do the Proxima LCD?
A little bit. So some trial, and it's actually two LCDs there.
Yeah.
They have to join together at the middle. um, it was right before this. I learned that there was a rotate command in the LCDs, and I didn't even know about it prior to that. So I was like, oh, you can rotate letters. So it was basically a lot of positioning. Like one LCD does the one half of this, and the other does the other half of this, and it was a lot of trial and error and repositioning things, and to get the two sides to mesh and get all the letters to line up and try to follow a curve angle that looks right. But it was all visual guesswork. There's no real math there or anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was a touch on most of the Star Trek ships. You do see that name in that whole model number like rotated like that. On this particular ship, one thing I was scared to death to do any kind of Star Trek ship because I know with the blocks you cannot make a good looking saucer. You do not have the curves to pull that off legitimately. So in this one, I stretched it out and had a big flat wall, pretty much where you're looking right now, to try to keep the front a little rounder and make it more of a wedge or arrowhead like shape to try to hide the curves I couldn't do.
Yeah. Now
That's
it's so it. I don't know. It really it's executed really well because when we think of Star Trek, like some of the people that are really into the lore, they play Star Trek Online, and something like this would fit right in. There's a lot of models and ships, ship design where something like this would be really common.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's got a really really good natural look to it than like some of the smaller touches you did. Not only the LCD right there, but some of the flashing lights you got right there. He did a lot of executions to emulate the proper Star Trek, and it looks really good.
Oh, thank you.
So,
Yeah, on this particular ship, that area right there that you're looking at, that's where I started the build on this one.
oh really?
It was took a look at some pictures online of various Star Trek ships, and I kind of decided I wanted to do like more of a traditional style, like getting closer to the original Enterprise kind of thing. And I was like, what is going to be the hardest part to really pull off on this to get it right? And I looked at that round center section where the deflector would be, and I was like, yeah, you know what? Let's scale the entire thing to how this piece comes out, and that's how I started the build. And then I had a lot of moving things around and cutting and pasting things and whatnot to try to get the proportions better on other areas of the ship. I made the saucer larger like 3 or 4 times when building the ship. I made the nacelles bigger. I had to lower I had to raise the nacelles up higher and lower the saucer down, and there's a lot of this playing around for probably a couple 2-3 weeks on the build on this one, trying to get to the shape and proportions to feel good, basically. But yeah, that was a fun process there. Not a replica again, but just heavily Star Trek influenced.
Yeah, I mean, there's no mistake about it, right? You look at this thing, and look at this angle; it's just beautiful.
Thank you. It is definitely one of my more favorite creations. I was pretty happy how parts of this one turned out.
Yeah, and it's something like this, executing it. This was like a moment of pride, a moment of joy, because like maybe Empyrion's block selection will say no, but you're like yes, and you fight against the grain, and when you pull it off, right, it's such a great feeling.
Oh, it is. I remember when I was building this, and I finally got like the most of the hull block work done, and I was just I was sitting on the ground, kind of somewhere around the front side of the ship there, and I glanced over at it, and it reminded me of that scene from one of the Star Trek movies. I think one of the newer reboots where you just kind of see the Enterprise sitting there from a little distance away, and I was like, oh man. And yeah, I got really happy at that point in time with the build. I'm like, oh, and just little things like those. You see those 2 little red texture lights there, kind of on the neck.
Yeah,
Just little things like that. I mean, yeah, it's sometimes these little detaily things can make a lot of difference. Really can that fine detail. So I put a lot of time into this one too. This was I was pretty hooked on this build here. It's the first time I ever tried to do any kind of Star Trek ship. as well. So
Yeah, really, really good execution. Do you have any plans to do additional Star Wars, or I'm sorry, Star Trek content?
I always have wanted to. Um, yeah, I did kind of want to do another one sometime. I gotta build up to it. I know when I start it, it's going to be a pretty long and probably fairly tedious project, but hopefully, rewarding in the end. But I really did. I did want to make another one. Even when I finished this one up, I said someday I'll try to do another one. Um, Not following the same whole design as that one, but one of the variants, some other thing, following the same general design language, I guess you could call it, of nacelles and
Yeah.
saucer and that kind of thing. Very distinctive on Star Trek ships. One thing I have realized with Star Trek ships, though, and I didn't realize it until I was working on this one. For a while there, I was texturing the bottom, and I wanted to get good lighting on it so I could see what I was doing. Not that there's a whole lot going on there, but um, I flipped the ship upside down in game, and I looked at what the ship would look like if it was inverted, like upside down was the way it was. And then I thought it was a really ugly ship. It's amazing. I know, it's just flipped upside down. It's the same ship, but for some reason it looked really stupid upside down to me.
Yeah. Now I thought about like when I was doing the Deathwing here, I was thinking about like up at the front, I'd put an LCD in with like the target or the mission profile was to target the Proxima or something like that, but I didn't know how that would be received, so I just kind of
Oh
said it.
no, I would have that would have been fun. That's
Yeah.
kind of what I built. That's kind of what I built my Klingon version for too. That wasn't even part of a challenge. I just wanted to do a Klingon ship. But it's with everything I do with these different factions. They're all like the Skaar's kind of like doesn't like any of the other factions too much, but will work with them sometimes. The humans don't like the MCRN too much. The Kriel hates everybody. I mean, I was always trying to do these different factions so they're all kind of like opposing one another, so they're just their own thing. And so what I did the Proxima, I was like, well, geez, it's got no like natural rival. Better have a Klingon ship now.
Right. Yeah. A set. That's what I call them. A set.
Set. Yep. Makes sense.
And we have the Renegade here.
Yeah, that to date, it's still my biggest SV I made, the Renegade. I used to build some bigger ones, different, but that was in a day when you could like have the CPU and move them around, and then it changed, and I sort of abandoned the idea of trying to build much and bigger SVs. Now this one I built, but it's got like the same thing going on. I was talking about a lot of other bigger SVs. You know, it's neat. It's this one's actually supposed to be a troop transport, the TT symboling on there, but it's like besides that, it's not like I'm going to use it for a POI or mining or anything else that a SV really does, which isn't a whole lot. So yeah, I like the build, and this one here I was trying to make it feel a little bit more like Star Citizen-ish, but you can't really compare it.
I don't know. I think you can. It looks real good. It's probably one of my more favorite ones of yours for the SV category. It looks real good. I like some of the execution with suggestions here, like this whole pod here would rotate to adjust the thrust. Really good selling point there.
Imagine how cool that would be if you could really rotate the thrusters in the game.
Oh, that would be sweet.
How many less thrusters you could have on a ship if you could directionalize them and have them. Oh man, you could actually do stuff pretty accurate.
Yeah, that would be that would inject a lot of incitement or excitement for the builders. Having some features like that, and if they do something like that, that's going to carry over to the players, because we're going to be generating these new interesting creations, and then the players are just going to be overwhelmed with workshop builds to look at and play around with, right?
Exactly. Oh yeah, there's one. I wouldn't even say I would try it as a replica, but there's one ship I kind of always wanted to do, was challenged to do a long time ago, but never did do it, and that is the Prometheus ship. from
Oh
the
yeah.
Prometheus movie. I thought that looked killer. But the whole thing with that ship is like, I don't really want to try it unless I can rotate thrusters, because it's required to build that ship right, or even close. And it's just like, yeah, it just won't work. You have the same thing with the leg ships that I have built, like the Cerberus or the Manicore. They look stupid flying in the air. I love how they look when they're sitting on the ground. That one too. Um, um, do you even know what the ship was built for? It had a very specific purpose on its build, but never really used it.
Yeah, I remember. I forget what it was though. I remember you mentioning that, and uh,
It would land on top of a POI. It's got all these guns that
oh
shoot the
yeah,
POI, and then there was these little spore pods, basically like little SV vehicles that are super dinky, that would can go through the hallways on a lot of the different POIs that you would come down. There's like a little bay in there. You would come down with those little spore pods and then go into the POI to shoot it up on the inside. But this would just land on top of the POI and blast it with all these uh, planet capable firing guns on the bottom side.
that's awesome.
So that was the whole idea for this. And then I wanted to go really exotic with, I don't know, alien big leg thing. I don't know. It's if you couldn't do all these different things, though, things would get boring. If every ship I made could only be like the Janus, I would have been long gone. Yeah. Oh, I could build a ship long as it's a rectangle. Oh, okay.
Yep. You might be long gone, but I could think of somebody who would love it if you could only build a Janus.
Oh, really?
Yeah, going back to my faction mate veteran, he loves that thing.
Yeah. This one was a fun one to do, though. I had a good time building this ship. It was different. It was really unique to anything else I really made. I mean, it was following the Kriel. It wasn't the first Kriel ship I made at this time, but just the shape and stuff of it. And if you walk down that hallway behind you, that's the weirdest trippy. It just goes down at this big angle, and it actually works. It gets you all the way to the ground eventually, but it's just a weird ship.
Yeah. Yeah, that kind of goes back to what you're saying earlier, that if we had a different block selection, because like you have the alien vibes being executed here, but then we were intermixed with like human devices and
yeah, well, there's just nothing to put in your ship that looks alien. It's just really, or very little, put it that way.
right. If we had like a different, so maybe I guess it'd be cool if we had another feature is like in conjunction with like the Xeno blocks. Maybe we had a listing of Xeno devices, like medicals could be like this biological pod or something.
That would be cool. I love a deco set of features, or even constructors or medical devices, or all that stuff. Everything in the game looks very human when it comes to that, and you're trying to do an alien something. It's never going to fit.
Yeah.
And some of this too, I'm noticing that like a lot of some of the colors on the constructors have changed too. Like I had the constructors painted not that color, but I noticed we're in Reforged Eden, and they don't follow the custom color palette. So
Yeah.
that's why a number of my creations have the constructors painted in the wrong colors now.
Yeah, that's so we're waiting on Elion to update that.
Yeah. But yeah, that was a weird one there.
Then we have the Overseer here.
Overseer, yep. Yeah, the first Kriel CV that I made. This one was a fun one too. Again, it's even you for an author too. I mean, it's kind of fun trying new things. I would say, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and this was exactly that. I'm like, I didn't build any other ships that looked like this one or anything like that prior to it, and it was just fun. It was just how can you make, like, I wanted to have like a mothership kind of thing, and at the time, I think this was the largest creation I made. This was done before the Leviathan.
Yeah, it's so going back to earlier, like you'll have like a stamp of kind of like an author stamp, like you get a rotation figured out of block selection choices, texture combinations, stuff like that. But then you take a break from it, you go for something new, and it's like all of a sudden you get to try some new combinations and stuff like that. So it kind of reinvigorates, gives a little fresh perspective on the build
Oh,
process.
it definitely does. It definitely does. It's if yeah, if you followed me, I'll like I'll do one thing like maybe like this, and then the next build might be like the brick station. The next build might be like a Skaar thing, and the next one might be an Imperial thing, and then I'll do a base or I'll do an HV, and then I'll do a CV, then I'll do an SV. And I just every build I'm just always trying to mix it up just to keep it fresher, I guess you could say. So just don't want to get in that rut. I did that before. If I tried to build too many of one of these factions in a row, I get really tired of doing it.
Yeah.
I did that with Kriel and beyond. When I first did the Kriel, I was super excited about it, and I built quite a few Kriel things: a tank and a couple SVs and a number of POIs. And then I really burned myself out with Kriel, and I didn't touch Kriel again probably for a good 6 months after that, at least. I was just like, oh, I don't want to do it with the Kriel now. No. But I'm the same way with the humans. If I build too many human creations, I'm like, oh, I need a break from humans. I got to do something else. And it's just I recommend that to any author that builds a lot is mix it up. It keeps you invigorated a lot better over time.
Oh, this is interesting. Got kind of like a bridge within a bridge here. It's almost like an observation deck looking down at the bridge.
Yeah, that's a captain's room right there. Yeah, I had fun with the bridge on this one.
Oh yeah,
And
yep.
yeah, the pretty trippy ceiling in this. Yeah, you look up there, it's kind of like it goes through to the. I don't know. Again,
American.
just playing with things to see what happens and see what I like and don't like. That's a lot of times why a lot of these builds take me quite a long time to do. Is I'm kind of picky, usually unless I'm in a bad mood. But I'm kind of picky, and if I don't like something, even if I spent like 2 hours building it, I'll be willing to trash it and start again. And I'll do that on a lot of different builds in different places. A lot of times you never see any of that on screen. Even if I'm doing videos on it, you'll never see it. But it's just like, yeah, I spent 5 hours yesterday working on this, and I got like one new room done that looks like it took maybe a half hour to make. That's why.
Yeah.
I can place the blocks pretty quickly. It's just, do I like them or not?
Right, right. No, I'm the same way. I suffer from that. Like, sometimes I'll get a complete section and rebuild it because it doesn't look right. Maybe I'll give it a little while to settle in. Maybe I'll like it, but I'll go
Yeah.
back. I don't. And I'm just gonna pull it.
Oh yeah. That's I just remember it's hard, and the only screenshots that would be on the original post. But I mean, what this looked like when I was building it, when they had the proper like bloom lighting effects and this kind of foggy look and stuff, it looked a lot more spooky than it does now. Now it's like those texture lights don't do what they used to do, and the lighting doesn't do what it used to do, and it kind of stinks. It's and there's nothing you can do in your video options to make it better. They literally
Look at that.
Yeah. Well, they change the lighting around a lot. If you ever get bored, take a look at the overseer post, and you'll see screenshots taken at that point in time when the lighting looked quite a lot different than it does now in the game. Now they optimized the lighting, so the game has a little better FPS at this point, but it doesn't do the same things you could do with it before. Especially the bloom type of effects. You see some of it there, though. Yeah, you
Yeah,
are seeing some of it.
yeah. They brought so with the new options, they've kind of brought that back. Actually, they've dialed that back. So
Yeah, I'm
it
seeing that now.
right, you see the glow effect there,
Yeah,
and
it totally went away for a while, and the Kriel was dependent on that for its look.
yeah, and
Kind
then
of annoyed me.
so we take the global illumination off, and then it kind of takes a hit, but
Yeah. Yeah, I've been kind of messing with some of the settings too. But obviously the game when this was built, the game was in alpha and it was starting to run into a lot of performance problems. So they made some changes to generally affect the lighting quite a bit, but it did increase the FPS. It's just some of the things you could pull off before with certain feels and looks kind of went away.
Yeah. So it does kind of pop again.
Yeah, it is. It is actually kind of popping a little bit. There was a point in time when it would really pop, and that's kind of what a lot of these texture lights were designed to do, to really like have a big glow field around them, kind of thing. So you got some building stuff going on yourself, or?
Oh, yeah, I got a couple things going on. Yeah, I guess we could take a look at that. It's unexpected. I kind of got.
Oh yeah, you thought you were interviewing.
Yeah, oh, that's what we're doing here today. Yeah. No, I got. I started to kick on some Babylon 5 stuff. I never really was into that, but I kind of got.
Oh yeah,
kind of got nudged.
I don't know Babylon 5 at all. I've never seen the show ever, so I don't even know what they have in the game.
Yeah, they have
in the show.
And that got some interesting looks. It's kind of an dated series, but
yeah,
I got this little thing right here. Kind of like
that's that. It's kind of like a big X-wing.
Yeah, I think they took some inspiration from that.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. Yeah, I like that that whole fuselage area in the fourth thruster setup there, or that's cool. That is very cool.
I'm working on some LCDs right here, shaping the teeth. Getting a little teeth. Mouth going on here.
That's neat.
Gonna put a little eyeball there.
Oh man, you got the right idea there. You know what I always wanted to do, just as a gag? One of the stupidest little small creations that I seem to bring in every game, the Scarab STC, the little tree cutter thing that's ultra cheap.
Yeah,
I wanted to put like a mouth and teeth on it, just because it would be so silly and funny. It would. Yeah, I like what you're doing there. You see, you just gave me an idea. I never thought about just using LCD triangles to try to do that. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, this is a warlock is what it's called. So I'm kind of in the process of shaping this now.
Yeah, I'm liking it.
Early stage.
I love. Yeah, that's neat. That's I like the shape on it. It's kind of got a little bit of that halo thing going on in there too, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe. Well, yeah, a little bit. Oh, that's neat. Yeah, that front end's cool. I like the stripe, the like metal piece stripe going across the top of the hall there too.
Kind of working out what I want to do for the interior. Kind of gone for some rounding here for the hallway options.
I like it. Oh, that's neat. Oh, a solid texture light across the ceiling there. That's cool.
Yeah, I don't know if I should go round on this or if I should go like 45s or whatever. So I'm still kind of working that out.
I'm digging at the round.
Yeah.
There was a long period of time I was scared to death of the round on a lot of things, and then I went full on round on a couple builds, and then I sort of backed away from it again. But now I'm thinking what I like the most is having both, having wedges and round. I used to think you should only have one or the other, and I don't know why I thought that way until I started looking at a lot of like sci-fi ships, and it's like, yeah, they got this part all wedged out over here, and then they got this round thing over here, and it looks really cool because it breaks it up and makes it look a little more realistic, I think. So yeah, no, dude, I dig that hallway. That is some neat looking blockwork there. Yeah, that's cool.
So with the new dynamic shadows options, some things have changed. I think there's going to be like a new art form come out of it, like shadow casting, I call it. So if we take a look at the Deathwing here, if this one's a load in. But so like the light and shadow effects have really taken a turn for the better here. So this would be like the standard lighting right here. So if we go ahead and apply the dynamic shadows here, like we really start to see
Oh
lighting.
yeah.
Like you can see the lines here from the light cast and stuff like that. You get these different lighting tiers. Like look at the different light there. You get different gradients.
That is cool. Yeah, I did this come in with the recent
Yeah,
110?
yeah, this came in
Okay.
with it. So and it's ultra precise too. Like look at you can see
Oh
like
yeah,
the
every
holes come through the
hole
grades and
great.
stuff like that. So
Yep.
so you can imagine like making a scene with like maybe grates and some truss blocks and stuff, casting light and shadow on walkways and stuff like that. And you're talking like replicating like scenes from I don't know, like Terminator. You know, when they're at the end where they're the first one where they're fighting.
Oh
Just like anything,
yeah.
you know, steampunk or
Oh yeah, no, dude. Yeah, totally. That is new. I did not even realize that was taking place. Now I know some parts did cast uh fairly accurate shadows, like the old school glass and some of those like great pieces. And I always thought it was really really neat when I'm walking through a ship and maybe there's an open window and there's like a grate or something in front of it and you see those shadows come down into the room onto the environment.
yeah,
But yeah, these are looking better than what they used to.
yeah.
Um,
These are so precise. Like you know these lines here. Like look how accurate that is, right? And it'll go right down to so it's anything. So you could put a plant down, and the individual leaves will cast shadows on them.
oh,
Yeah,
huh,
it's insane. Now there is a trade off though. It's so some of the ideas we do, like we'll have like a masking light to where we'll have bleed through effects to light up an area, something like that. So it's once we activate this, the bleed through doesn't really work anymore.
okay.
So that's something to take into consideration. So if we have like some ships where we've got lights buried at a different level, trying to light up lower floors, and that's going to be an issue.
Yeah. Well, still, I mean, it's a lot of times it's an issue because the light does bleed through it too. I guess it depends on
Yeah,
how you're doing them. Oh yeah, I'm even seeing the shadows right here on the floor, right there too. Oh yeah, the shadowing is a lot better now. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Lighting makes a huge difference in these builds and or any 3D model. You've ever seen like you probably have. You seem to have a pretty good background in all this stuff here, but you ever see like a good looking model in an unlit, like just there's no lighting going on at all, and you
yeah,
look at it and it'll just look crappy, and then as soon as you turn on the light, it's like, oh,
yeah,
night and day difference. I mean, literally.
yeah. Shadows definitely. I mean, it's you know, so like going back earlier when we were talking about it's you know that was part of the selling point that I guess you personally kind of convinced me to jump off the bench and start building for Empyrion. It's like seeing seeing some of your spotlight work in hangars and just
Oh yeah.
kind of really sell it. You know, because up at that point I had looked at Empyrion. I'm like, okay, you know, it's just kind of Minecraft stuff, but light and shadow it makes a big difference, right?
Oh, it does. It does. It does. Yeah. One issue I still run into, especially like the hangar you're in right now, really big area, really hard to light this, and especially some of the lights are really dark. I mean, so I do struggle. Like I would like to have more illumination in the hangar here, but I already got probably 20 some individual lights in here, and it makes it a little rough. It's lighting those big areas up, especially after a distance to the light disappears. Like you can't see the lighting at the other end of the hangar.
Yeah. Now, do you use the spotlight block itself? Because that
No, no, I did on the Leviathan only as an optional switch you'd have to turn on, but I don't because it's well, I don't know. Unless I never thought it looked good. Basically, it was hard to see and a little too
kind of
much light.
yeah.
There was no adjustments on it. But yeah, seeing what you're doing there, that works out pretty good. Also, I always thought the spotlights were pretty bad for game performance too. So I don't use them a lot. I used to. I used to use them more.
Yeah.
But that actually doesn't look too bad too. You just don't get any switches, controls on it on your all the options you would have on a regular light in the game. Unless they added that. No, yeah, I don't think so.
No
They
way.
did.
Technologic. Maybe. But it does kind of have like a halo effect being cast there, so.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, if you can get it in the right build to look good. I mean, it would be a way to light a bigger area, but again, I tried that on the Leviathan. There's actually a P menu switch to turn on hangar spotlights. To light up. I mean, because this one's got the biggest hangar of any of the ships actually. But
looking at some of the lighting here, this looks pretty good.
Yeah. I was typically I'm always looking at the excuse me. Oh man. I was looking at the shadows and stuff too. So yeah, here if you were to they are on right now. Okay. Yeah, the hangar spotlights. Yeah, you can kind of see them up on the edges of the walls there.
Yeah.
So this is the only ship I did put in some internal spotlights on to try to light this place up a little bit better. But again, really difficult to try to light this kind of area up.
It is a big area. All right. Let's see. I think we've looked at pretty much everything we have here, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. I'm going to look at this guy. This is
a little Kriel.
Wraith.
The Wraith. Yep. Yeah, this one was a little bit different. Didn't quite fit the Kriel thing quite as closely as some of the other ones, but yeah, just a ship, kind of a short-lived ship. I built it, and all the game stats changed, and it kind of completely destroyed this ship on trying to use it for anything, unfortunately. But fairly simplistic interior too, just straight hallway going down the middle.
This looks right.
Yeah. I did have some fun with the glass canopies on some of the Kriel SVs though. Normally go for like some curvy formations and things just to make it look kind of different, I guess.
No, I like this. I like the joining here with this one. That's an interesting choice there. I like that.
Yeah, there's a lot you can do with the old school glass too. I mean, I love the newer glass pieces too, but these other ones have you can do things you can't do with the newer glass for sure, like 22.5 degree angles.
Yeah. Yeah, fantastic. Any parting words?
Well, thanks, man. It's been fun chatting with you. I'll have to take a look at some of your stuff again. I'm sure I'll see more of it on the workshop, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I guess I should ask: is there you have any words of wisdom to impart upon people who are learning the build process?
Yeah. Well, yeah. There's trial and error. Trial and error. Learn how to build a basic functioning thing that even if you use all just Minecraft blocks, or in other words, full blocks, and don't care about anything, learn your stats and stuff, and then definitely focus on learning the wedge sets. They're the most important blocks to learn. And once you know the wedge sets and how they fit together, everything else is pretty self-explanatory, and then you can really build better and fancier things out of the blocks. And then one last thing too is texturing is very important in the game for visuals. Any of these creations, if they were just flatly sprayed with like one texture or two textures or something, would really look a lot worse than what they do. So yeah, texturing, lighting, but learn the blocks first and how to make things work in game. That'd be my best advice, I guess. And have fun if you enjoy it.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, thank you for your time, sir. Definitely, one of the certainly the most prominent builder within the community. without question.
There's a lot of great builders out in the community too. I mean, man, I've seen a lot of builders too that, years ago, as I see some of their stuff and I was like, yeah, okay. And then all of a sudden they are hitting it now. They are just like, oh wow, look at that. So it is great to see, and a really great community around Empyrion too, that so many people have been around for so long. It's just really cool to see. I mean, it's kind of a weird niche market in the gaming community, but I tell you what, I haven't yet found a game that, well, maybe besides Space Engineers, that could do this kind of thing. Hope to see it someday, though.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. All right, that's it. Thank y'all for tuning in for this episode of Artist Behind the Art with Jrandall.
All right, thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. I'll catch y'all next time.
All right, man. Well, you take it easy.
LyfeForce out. All right, here we go. 1 Phalanx versus 3 Sector Command. How's this going to end up? 685 tons of firepower. Rolling your way, baby. Whoa. I have to try and hit these one at a time. Come on. We got 18,000 shield. What do we got? Just hit them one at a time. Ooh. So we can hit these little guns. Do we get a recharge here? We have a recharge. Yeah, we got a recharge. Sweet. For a little while. A little bit of crossfire there. Alright, let's get these shields up. Let's get a stay on the turrets while we go ahead and recharge. Not too bad so far. Thinking we'll get that one in that far corner next. Or should we hit the center? Oh, we got back up. Got chunked a little bit. Hold on. Let's see how we doing, man. Yeah, we're good. It's got 2 ammo compartments, so holding up pretty good. I've actually shot quite a bit. Okay, maybe it was good I did turn off the weapons. Alright, let's go. Maybe I didn't spawn enough sector commands. Alright, Sector Command 2's shield is down. That's good, let's go. Surprisingly, not as sluggish, I'd think, for a, what are we, 685 tons. That's a lot of tank. That's quite a bit of tank, actually. Come on. Maybe I should have had like some towers or something on the flanks there to just to make it interesting. Because I think at this point it's pretty much game over. Not enough sector commands. Yeah, still holding up pretty good with ammo. Ah, I still got one over here that can see me, eh? Oh, things are about to get interesting. Let's go. Accidentally killed the thrusters there. What I could do is get the shields up and right up the top of this wall. Should be able to hit some of those other turrets. I'll just complete an encirclement first. Whoa! That's not good. Last thing I need to happen. %, on that last one. This one's recharging too. Just wait till we get to 100%. Let's go. Oh yeah, now we got it on the run, baby. Get that set to a hotkey. That would be nice. It's just too many plasmas for them to resist. Too much. Uh-oh. A little bit of whole tank in there. Okay, we got most of our weapons still. All the good stuff. Had some mini good turrets. Mini good turrets at the front. Those got taken out. That's fine. Lost a couple tier 1 plasma. Looks about it so far. Gotta go take these other shields down now. Figured to be going faster through these shields. I still got a good bit of firepower at the front. Whoa. You know what would make HPs interesting is if they didn't, or relevant really, is if they didn't have a warm-up time for their shield recharge. If they could perpetually recharge, that would make them interesting, I think. People might look at use them over SVs or CVs to attack bases at that point. There's got to be something to make them interesting and unique. I think that might do it. Let's go. All the marbles right here. No backing out. Let's go. 6% shield. 1%. I think I'm stuck. What? Come on, let's go. Well, okay, so yeah, that should be it. That's all of them. Sector commands are subdued. Nothing left but like just the little sentry guns. Yeah, pretty cool. All right, I'll call that one a W. Let's see what they got left. Yeah, that's it. All weapons are down. Yeah, that just wasn't enough sector commands. Pretty nice. So, yeah, this is the extent of our damage here. We've lost what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 turrets. Yeah, very nice, very nice. Alright, that's it. Until next time. Catch y'all later. LyfeForce out. Hello, folks. If you enjoy my content, if you enjoy my builds, please consider becoming a patron today. As a patron, you get access to custom builds of release works, early access to some builds before they hit the workshop, exclusive builds. You also gain access to direct feedback and engagement through polls, idea suggestions regarding builds before and after workshop release. If this interests you, please check out the pinned comment below. Thank you.